And very excited to bring on today's guest in just one moment. She's another high ticket coach, just like yours truly. So we're going to have a lot of fun diving into her marketing and sales process and how she gets results for clients. She gets some amazing results for her clients. So with that being said, before I bring her on, I remember this is the Six Figure Coaches Show. We go live. These episodes premiere inside the Hermit Hole every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, I believe it's about 1:12 or 1 p.m. somewhere in there. We've got a team that sets it up for me, so I think it's 1 p.m. Pacific is when it goes in into that group. Just go to thehermithole.com and you'll be able to get access to these interviews before they get published on iTunes and Stitcher on the audio platforms. Okay, so if you want to get access to these episodes first, just go to the Hermit Hole. They premiere there a week in advance of the audio interviews. Okay, so with that being said, let me bring on today's guest. As I said, I'm super excited to bring her on. She's an award-winning coach. She's as I said, she helps coaches and consultants attract high-paying clients. Let me bring up her bio here because there's one thing. She has a funnel that I'm very excited to dive into. She calls it the Consistent Client Super Funnel. And as I said, she works specifically with high ticket coaches and consultants. She's had a very successful agency over the last 8 years, and now she's focusing more on lead generation, demand generation for coaches. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into her story. So Shannon DeSouza, welcome to the Six Figure Coaches Show. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Luke. Hello, everyone. This is going to be a fantastic show.
I can't wait. I'm really interested to know, we'll dive into your funnel, but before we get there, can you just give the coaches listening in just some context as to your story? Because you didn't start off like running a successful agency, right? So you were actually in the corporate world first.
Yes.
And you which led you to the agency, which now has led you to more on coaching. So do you just want to give us some background on your story?
Absolutely. So I started in the software industry, ripe age of 18. I went to the University of Waterloo. And for those of you in Canada, you know that is like the #1 tech school to go to. So I kind of accidentally got shoved into that industry. You know, I had a co-op job and I had 2 years of work experience. So I worked for companies like Sybase, BlackBerry, some really, really big corporations. And from that, what I realized is I think I like smaller. So I went back to school. I did my master's in business, entrepreneurship, and technology. And I decided I was going to commit my life to startups. And that's where the journey of startups went. So I did about 8 years over there in startup land. And I wanted to wear as many hats as humanly possible because that is how you learn and grow. And I wanted to do it on somebody else's dime because I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. It was just really a matter of when. In fact, in my 20s, I had my very first entrepreneurial venture, which was I was a wedding planner while I worked full time in my 20s. And I ended up growing that. We did about 25 events a year, and I sold that to one of the women who worked for me. So very, very extensive background in sales and marketing. What I realized in the software industry was the gold was really understanding lead generation and demand generation and how to build the book of business. And so that's what I decided to focus on. I started up as a sales rep, and then I grew to all VP of sales and marketing and my last corporate role. So that's my background, Luke.
Okay, nice. So you moved into the agency side of things, and who specifically were you helping with the agency?
So my husband actually got headhunted to go to Vancouver.
Yep.
So when I went to Vancouver, what I saw was there wasn't a lot of talent. So instead of going to, get a job per se, I started actually as a tech consultant, a sales and marketing consultant, which was very exciting. That very quickly grew because I attracted a lot of business. And so it became an agency. Shocker. Okay. Don't judge me, but here's a little secret. I didn't actually niche down. I just focused on helping clients and what their needs were. And for me, it was very much around allowing my brain to really be exercised. So we did things all the way from designing websites and SEO all the way to doing ads and, campaigns. Yep. So there was it was very fluid. From that, I realized there's only so much that you can grow in an agency if you don't niche down. And so that's kind of where my journey to focus began.
Again, so when you say niche down, you mean to a particular type of client? Is that what you're talking about there?
So in my coaching business, I teach it by industry.
Okay.
And so the agencies that are I find doing extraordinarily well, it's, that's where they're focused is like e-com or, manufacturing or oil and gas or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Because you can tailor. There's a couple of different benefits to niching down, and people hear the main one, which is well, you have a more targeted message, right? So which makes it stand out more. It makes it easier. You get better response from your advertising, as an example. So generating appointments generally is easier. But also the other side of the coin, which you don't talk about much, is when you focus on a specific industry, you can create a very systemized delivery, like service delivery, right? So I work with coaches that are just wanting to get in. Generally, they're just starting their advertising for the first time, and they want to be able to turn advertising into high-paying clients. And so I have a system that is perfect for that type of coach, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a conveyor belt, right? You can just kind of put them on, just the same process every time. Versus if you're in all these different industries, you can't really systemize it, and it's very laborious and slow and clunky, right? And so that's the other benefit of niching down, is you actually can speed up your delivery of service. Would you agree with that?
I would 1,000% agree with it. So you're reducing your time, your energy, your money, your labor. You have a process through it. I like to say you become the whale in the pond also, because if you're in a niche or an industry specific area, typically industries are not that massive. So you can go to the right events, you can meet the right people, you can speak on the right stages, and then, that's how you can drive way more lead generation for yourself.
Right. Exactly right. And so, okay, so you're focused primarily on high ticket service professionals or high ticket coaches now?
Both of them. So it's high ticket service providers as well as high ticket coaches. And so why that is because they're actually very similar, because the high ticket portion means that they take sales calls.
Right.
That's really what this comes down to.
Okay, cool. And so you've got the agency, but now you're going into more coaching yourself. Is that correct? That's what you're
in the last few years, my focus has been on coaching. And why that happened was because I had about 350 customers come through the agency. I typically attract women. And so through that, I saw that women have a really, really big problem selling. And sales for me has been absolutely effortless. And so if I had to look back on why that is, it's because A, I have the experience, but B, I have the process. I know what kind of questions to ask, and my confidence has increased because of that. When I look at women and typically the background that women come from, health and wellness, for example, they know how to be a fantastic dietitian or nutritionist, but they were never taught any business skills. So now that they have their own private practice, they have no idea how to do client acquisition.
Okay, cool. So let's dive into your consistent client super funnel. Is that what you call it?
That is what I call it.
Let's dive. So do you do this funnel for yourself as well?
Absolutely. I do the exact same program as all of my clients.
It's always nice when the expert does what they teach, because a lot of the time you don't see that. They go do this funnel and then they're not doing it at all. I guess in some instances when you, sorry, go ahead.
I said I do it because, as you know, in this digital world, things are changing like every 3 seconds. Like now, all of a sudden, everyone's abandoned TikTok to go to Clapper. You know what I mean? So if I'm not doing it, then my content and my information, my teaching, my curriculum could be completely out of date.
Okay, well, let's go into the actual funnel. So let's just walk through it at a high level. So how many steps is it? 3, 4, 5?
So there's a few pieces, and the first piece is even before the sales process. Okay.
Yep.
So the women who come to me, why they're not closing high ticket sales is A, they're not niche down.
Yep.
So that's the very first thing problem we're going to solve. The second is going to be, we're going to optimize their offer. A lot of women are just intuitively, the way they sell is solution based. So they don't know how to showcase what are the problems they're actually solving in a way where somebody can recognize themselves in that.
I'm smiling, almost laughing right now, because for all the coaches listening and that listen to my other podcast and this one, it's something that I talk about all the time. It's like, let's just start with the problem that you're solving first. And it's interesting how a lot of coaches can't even articulate. They go right for their coaching, right? Because that's what they're so deep in, that subject, but they can't articulate, okay, what's the actual high ticket problem, I call it. What's the high ticket problem you're solving for your clients? It has to start there. It can't actually
Where's
start
the fire?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Why am I buying a fire extinguisher if there's no fire?
So people think that they're buying a fire extinguisher, right? It's not. It's what the fire extinguisher does for you. It puts out the fire. Same with coaching. Your prospects are not really buying coaching. Like, yes, they get that. That's kind of like the vehicle. What they're buying is the solution to their problem, to that main problem.
Transformation, right?
Yeah.
Like what's coming after this.
Right.
You're absolutely correct. So 95% of people that I work with, that has not been optimized. They don't, and it's very typically what they do is it's very features driven as opposed to benefit driven. And I know you know all of these words, right? So a lot of people want to talk about the container and how long the container is and how many how many sessions are in Teachable, you know what I mean? Those kinds of things. And it's that's
you have 500 hours of content to go through. So amazing.
Yes. And I'm like, that's not what this is about. Right? So we need to get into the details of that transformation. So these are all new things that the women that I work with, I work very, very deeply with them because I've been a consultant for so long. I have a much more hands-on approach than other coaches, which is more like, this is how to go do it, and then go do it. I tend to get my hands dirty. So we'll do a lot of like back and forth iterations. I'm also the type of coach that is not really like, oh, just pat you on the back, you're good to go. Like I'll give you real feedback. So it's very, very consultative.
Yeah. So that's, I'm similar. Can we stop there for a second? Because I think that's really important. The industry initially it was like kind of one-on-one, right? Then it went to this whole, like, everyone do group, group is the way to go. And I think people when you realize you don't get as good results as if you're working in that more consultative approach with your mentor, right? And that's why I don't do group anymore. I just do like one-on-one consulting, basically. Now, a lot of it is with Loom videos, but it's still me personally reviewing like their offer, their copy, their pages, because I find that, you can get them much, much better results. Whereas in a group program, you've got, like, let's say you've got 30 or 40 people on a call, you only have maybe like 5 or 10 minutes with each person. Like you can't go deep on that, right? And I've spoken to so many clients that have come from other programs, and they're like, yeah, I've been doing this program for like a year or 6 months, or I had one join the other day, 2 years she'd been trying to get this webinar up, and she'd taken it and asked questions about why isn't it converting. It took me about like 10 minutes of just speaking to her one-on-one to figure out what the problem was. And now, things are moving forward with her campaign. And so, group coaching can be good in like certain instances, but I think generally for the coaches that we're talking about that want to convert into high-paying clients and have a systemized system, it's going to get much better results with one-on-one consultative or done for you type process.
1,000%. And there is actually like an energetic connection. Like if you are selling high ticket, you should also be paying high ticket, because then you understand what it feels like to be on the other side, and that you can coach your own clients through that. And so if you do want that one-to-one, like concierge, service, then that does come with a higher price point, right? So we do the niche, we do the offer, then we get into messaging. And messaging is not only like, how to position yourself. Messaging is really what I get into is social media content and attraction-based marketing and storytelling. So I have a whole system around that. And that is really the crux of how to get the real sales process and sales funnel going. Because if people don't like the content that you're putting out, if people can't connect with you on a very, very deep level, sales is going to be so much harder for you.
Right. So can you so we can put what you just mentioned, what you just mentioned is very important, but I think it will make more sense if you put it in the context of your actual funnel, like the actual process that you take someone from first meeting the coach all the way to a booked an appointment, and then you can talk about where
it would be much more top of the funnel, right? So it's awareness of you. And it's not only awareness of you, what you're selling, it's awareness of Shannon DeSouza as a human being, because my strategy is very much around like vulnerability and storytelling of like not only the good things I'm doing, but also my mishaps, maybe, right? Humanizing myself,
Yep.
right? Like if you go through all of my content, you're always seeing my face. So you're
Mm.
connecting that to it.
Mm.
Historically, people liked a lot more value-based content. Then it moved much more into authority when it was a very busy market. And
Mm.
now I'm finding it's going much back into affinity of like, who are the people who are really out here who want to help us? So if
Mm.
we don't have affinity is another word for trust. If we are not building trust with our audience through our content, which is right at the top of the funnel,
Yep.
then why would they want to have a freebie, right? Why would they want to sign up for a webinar? Why would they want to come into our group, right?
Okay, so just to put this in context, are you talking about doing regular posts on social media, or are you talking about getting them onto your list and sending them regular content? So what does this actually look like?
So the first would be right on social media, right?
Okay.
The second right under that is going to be getting onto our list.
Okay.
And how do we get onto our list in my super funnel? Is through a Facebook group, typically.
Okay.
That's like the easiest way
So
to
how
come
do
in
you build the group in the first instance?
through our personal profile.
Through your personal profile. Okay, cool. So
So you're building audience through your personal profile.
okay, so this is where we're getting to the specifics, which is good. So using your personal Facebook or Instagram profile, both?
You can do this exact same strategy on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Okay,
Really, all the
cool.
same.
So you would connect with your target market and start doing regular posts on your personal profile.
Yes.
That invites
So
them to your group, and then you get them on the list from there.
absolutely. You can cut the group if you really wanted to cut, if they're not like Facebook people, like if you're getting them from LinkedIn and then they go straight to like your freebie.
Okay, cool. So the beginning of your process, I'm assuming, is you're telling the coach to obviously identify who your target market is as the first step, right? And then when you get onto social media, go and start connecting with that specific type of person.
And we teach it through industry and job title.
Okay, what about if they're on Facebook and there's no industry and job title in their actual personal profile? How do you identify those people?
You're going to start identifying them through the groups where you know they're hanging out.
Okay.
But one of the things I will tell you is there is a lot of people that have job titles and have like the SEO key information on their Facebook profile.
Oh, they do?
Yes, it's huge.
So when you connect with them, do you get your clients to look at that person's profile first before they connect with them as a friend?
Yes, and that's a part of prospecting.
Okay.
And so that goes into like later in our sales process of what we're doing. If you have to prospect each person that's in your audience, and it's better to do it before you bring them into your audience.
Right.
Through their profile. The next step would be doing it through the DMs.
And okay, so you prospect, get it very clear, make sure that they're like they're in your target market. You connect with them, and then are you getting a VA to do this generally, or is it the coach that's doing it?
We always want to start with the coach because this is where everything gets completely derailed. Is everything gets outsourced. They're not fine. They don't understand your business the way you do. They don't understand, who that A++ client is. And there's very subtle nuances when you have a conversation that you could identify as the coach because you're the expert versus somebody who this is a brand new concept and a brand new world for them.
Yeah. And that's, I tell my clients that as well. Like, if you want to hire a setter as an example, you want to do the setting first. Like you want to actually start getting on the phone and start calling your leads, because how do you expect to know, first of all, if someone's doing a good job or not, right? How can you coach them? Like when you bring someone into your company, how can you coach them? So you need to like learn the process. And then you're also the leader, right? If you're training a setter and they know that you haven't ever done it before, like, are they really going to be, paying attention to what you say in the most, effective way? Probably not. So that goes for every process, right? You want to do it initially, get good at it, get a level of proficiency, and then then you can, once it's all smoothly working, then sure, outsource it. That's how I see it anyway.
I call it the bullshit factor. If you haven't done the job, there's no way for you to call bullshit.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly
If you haven't studied it, because people will always tell you, oh no, that's not possible. And then you're like, actually, it is. And this is how you do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So most importantly for sales though, if you don't do this yourself, you don't know the client objections. You don't know how to progress the conversation forward. And my entire program, my entire being is all around creating relationships through the DMs to book sales calls and then optimizing your sales call, right?
Okay, cool. So you connect with them. After you connect, do you send them like a, hey, how you going type message, or what happens next?
So for me, I like to think of this like I'm at a conference
Yep.
or I'm meeting someone in person and I'm introducing myself. I start very high up and then we'll get into the details of work later, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to actually be a human being, because if I met you in real life, I would never jump into like, hey, you're a high ticket coach. What are you struggling with?
I can help you. Yeah.
Like that would just never happen if we were at a conference.
Okay. And are you tracking each person that you add as a friend? Like, is there a spreadsheet that you use, or do you just?
So there is a spreadsheet, or you can use, there's multiple tools that you can use that track, leads on social media. So an example of one is called Group Track CRM.
Okay, cool.
So that is my favorite one. It is very expensive, but it is a great tool.
What are some of the objections that you get about your system?
It's not objections, it's mostly resistance. And for women, it's doing things that they haven't done before. So it's mainly the discomfort of having a conversation with somebody that they don't know. Okay. That is like the biggest.
Well, if you're a coach listening, you're gonna have a lot of those. You're gonna have a lot of those. If you're booking calls, right?
Well, typically, like, people come to me and they're like, I want to make 30K, I want to make 50K, I want to make 100. Amazing. Like, yes, let's manifest that. But also, like, let's look at the data and see how many leads you need to bring in, how many calls you need to book, how many of those are going to show up. Is this a 1 call or 2 call close? And then the number, keeps going down. What's your conversion rate on calls? And if you don't have those numbers, or you don't know this data, then most likely the lead number that you're going to need is very, very large. Now, where is that traffic coming from if you're not paying for it?
Yeah. And that's the thing I like about like what you do, and what it's very, what you just mentioned is, you can get to whatever goal they want at 30, 40, 50K a month, and you just work backward from there. What you've just done is you just work backwards. Okay, if you want to get to 50K a month and each client is worth, say, 5K, it means you need to make 10 sales. Okay. If your closing rate is 20%, it means you times 10 sales by 5. You need to do 50 calls, right, in a month to close 10 sales. Okay, to get 50 people to show up to, so you just kind of keep working backwards. And then the cool thing about that is it gives your clients, right, a very specific, okay, I need to connect with 30 people each day, because I know if I connect with 30 people each day, that's going to get me 10 people in my Facebook group. For every 10 people I get in my Facebook group, that gets me this many people into a call, or whatever, what numbers work out, right? So you start from that end goal of whatever the monthly goal is, and you work backwards. And that's the benefit of having a systemized approach.
Absolutely. And that number, to tell you the truth, at a 20% close rate, the number that you need to hit 50K, if you have a 5K program, you need 119 leads per month.
Okay. What's your definition of a lead, though? Is that connections, or is that people in your Facebook?
No, it's not a connection. It will be like a qualified person who wants to get on a call with you. Okay. It's and do you see how that's a very high number? And if you haven't improved, if you don't know how to improve your close rate, because that's the easiest free way to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the low hanging fruit, right? It's amazing how much, like, getting good at sales can move the needle, right? If you go from 20% closing to 40%, you literally just doubled your monthly income.
Well, let me give you that number. Let me do that right now for you, since I have you here.
So you can basically tell, okay, if you want to earn whatever it is, 50K a month, you need to connect with this many people per day to then send them through all those steps. But
absolutely. So that brings it to, if you increase your close rate to 40%, that brings the qualified leads that you need to get on a call to 60. So that is exactly 50% of that, right? So do you see how much less work you have to do if you can just increase your close rate?
Yeah. That's, a few months ago, I worked on my closing a lot in Cole Gordon's program. And I just literally that was the main thing that I fixed and hit my first 100K month. So, and I didn't change really anything else. So it was
an excellent investment.
Yeah, good investment, good investment. Yeah, if I came back as a coach again, I probably would just focus on sales, because it's, I can work with someone that's already got, already getting appointments, and you just work on the end part, which is the bit that has the most leverage, and you get great results. But yeah, it does show you the power of selling. So that's okay. So have we just gone through your whole system then, or is there anything else?
I mean, once you bring them in our world, we prospect them, we nurture them, we use our DM strategy, right, to then book the sales call, and then we optimize the sales call.
Okay, cool.
That's the strategy.
Okay, great. And then after that, let me ask, how do you scale that? Is this where you would hire multiple VAs to do the prospecting? Like, how would you scale the system, or do you just go straight to
the scale? Really comes down to us. So I have a back end offer. The scale comes to ads and funnels. Yeah, I was right. Say, if you start cooking with gas, then let's get those leads into our group of, like, directly, right? And we just start talking to them, and we prospect them like faster. Okay.
So you just advertise the group like with a Facebook ad or something?
Well, you that's against Facebook regulation, right? So we don't actually.
Well, I mean, send them to a page that then they go back to the group. Yes. Just anyway, for coaches that aren't aware, like you can't advertise a group directly. Like, you can't say, hey, join my group, and have a link that goes, like a facebook.com link that goes to the group. You can still advertise your group, but you have to send them to a page that says join my group, and then the button on the page can go back to the group, or you can actually get an opt-in, which is probably advisable. Get them to opt in, and then you send them to the.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen a group actual advertisement go through. I've only been able to see it through, like, here's your freebie, and then at the back end it flips to join your group.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's how I used to do it, but I've seen people directly advertise the group. That's interesting. Maybe they have changed it. Okay, cool. So what do you see are some of the biggest mistakes that coaches make when implementing your system? Following through might be one.
The first thing intuitively that came to my brain was like questioning the methodology.
Okay.
And so for me, it's like, I keep telling them this, like, my results are based off of this exact same process. Like, I'm not doing anything different than what I'm telling you to go and do.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that that's a big piece of it. There's a lot of, I don't want to use the word resistance, but mindset that has to happen, mindset shifts that have to happen, and limiting beliefs that have to be crushed to kind of like enter into the world of niching. Because, and I can only speak to the people that I've experienced, is women in general, we tend to want to help and serve as much as we can, right? And so the idea of saying no to somebody sometimes can go against our ethos. So that I find is like it's a big challenge to get beyond. Well, you're not really saying no to them, because if they still want to come to you, you can still take those sales calls, you can still close them. But I publicly on the internet, if you want to, grow to 50K plus months, then this is the best way I know how to do it.
Yeah, I almost don't even use the word niche anymore in my content. I, like I said before, like to use the word high ticket problem. Unique problem is another way of saying it, a niche, because of the stigma, the negative perception attached with the word niche. And so I just use a different terminology to kind of go around that limiting belief, because you're exactly right. I've experienced this since I started helping coaches 10 years ago. This resistance to, it's not just women, I think it's men as well, like to pick like I tell them all the time when they come to see me, it's like, look, I can help you with your ads, but we're going to have to choose a specific industry, like a target market. You can't just say, hey, I want to help business owners. No, you can't. I mean, you can, but you're going to get a lot of low quality leads. Like, let's get more specific.
Or none.
Yeah, or none. Yeah, it'll be low quality or none. And so let's get more specific, and that will increase the response and get you better quality leads. But yeah, it is that that wrestling with them in their mind of like, hey, they're excluding people. So I totally get that. But the reality is, and coaches have heard this many times before, if you try and speak to everyone, you won't speak to anyone. So by trying to speak to everyone, that's actually excluding people. You're not doing an effective job of getting your service into their hands to transform their lives. But if you make your message more specific, then you can actually help more people. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's how it works.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I have in my program is, and because I am a spiritual woman, I do a lot of mindset work. We do a lot of like energetic related stuff. And I find that helps like move them through it. And because there's a few places where, there can be hiccups or there can be challenges, right? And it's really mindset. And once you push through it and you get success, then you get over it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes I feel like a bit of a therapist to my clients. Sometimes it's funny, but yeah. So that usually actually happens a lot for me around sales, around the frustration of well, it's like them not charging what they think they're worth is a big one, and their feeling around sales in general about what selling actually is. And for me, the way that I try to reframe that is selling is really just an exchange of value. It's like, they're actually getting more value than what they're paying. They're getting far more value. Like, for example, I've got a client that she helps women basically heal their cancer. Like yeah. And so what's it worth to save your life? I mean, you can't put a price on that really, but is it worth $100,000, $200,000? Yes, it is, but she's charging $7,000, somewhere around there. And so they're giving you that 7,000 and they're getting an amazing transformation in return, or whatever it is, 3,000, 5,000. They're getting something much more valuable in return, obviously, as long as they take action and follow through. But they're getting the better end of the deal for their money. And I think that's what we really have to see is like, it's an exchange of value. They're saying, oh my gosh, this result, I want this program. This is so valuable to me. Yes, I'm willing to give up my money in exchange for this. So it's actually a lopsided exchange in their favor is the way that I see it. But I think coaches sometimes feel weird charging, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or higher for their service, just because they're not used to it really, and they sometimes have a bit of a negative mindset around selling.
Well, I think in my experience, it's all around the energy of money and our money stories, and potentially like, money stories typically come from parents and, grandparents and like other things. They can also come from culture. A lot of it comes from like self-worth. And so if we're not doing our own work, our own internal, energy work or our own internal like mindset work, then it will show up in places like that where we don't feel comfortable charging, high ticket.
Yes. One of the things that because I think there is a limit, to also your level of experience and expertise, right? So what I mean by that is, if you're just starting out as a coach, don't go straight to selling like a $20,000 offer if you haven't got many results. Yes. Like, fair enough, you're going to feel a bit weird about that, a bit incongruent. So what I say is, look, just charge at a price that maybe it just pushes you just a little bit, right? So that could be $1,000, could be $500, but usually for most beginning coaches, it's around $1,000 to $2,000, somewhere in there. Get some case studies under your belt. Then for the next, say, 5 clients, charge $2,500 or $3,000. Get some more case studies. Then as you get more results and case studies, you kind of prove to yourself that, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this, right? So you get more confidence, and you're also proving to the market that you can get results. So you just incrementally raise your fees, and that's the way that I think is a good way to do it as the coach's confidence builds.
I agree, and what I always tell my clients is just open the sales floodgate. That first sale is the hardest sale. So sell at what you're comfortable with, right? Don't worry about if it's 3,500, fine. If you want to get to 10,000, we'll get to 10,000. But first, open the floodgate.
Yes, that's same here. To sell something. Cool. All right, Shannon, I've got one more question, then I'll let the coaches. Then you can let the coaches know more about where they can go to learn more about you. So I asked this question of all our guess, and that is, you're standing at the top of a mountain and there's thousands of coaches below you. You can only shout to them one message to be more successful. What is that one message?
Intuitively, I got internal alignment.
Do you want to expand on that?
Absolutely. So it was kind of just like what we were talking around self-worth and self-care and self-prioritization. And the more that we take our like time, energy, money, and love with ourselves to expand our own energy, then the more that we can give to our clients, or the more that we can give to our family, the more we can give from our cup. And I don't take being a coach very lightly. It is a very impactful job. We are really changing the world with our clients that we're working with. And so if we don't understand how to take care of our own base, right, and what we need ourselves, then we can't impact our clients at our deepest level. And that's ultimately why we are doing this job in the first place.
Right, absolutely. I love that. Okay, cool. So can you let the coaches know where they can go to learn more about you and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So you can learn more about me at shannondesouza.com. And you are welcome to friend me with that same name on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. And you can find my Facebook group, Consistent Clients Club, on my profile, or you can search that as well. And I would love to welcome you. I do work with men. Predominantly, I do attract women. But typically the men that work with me are very soul aligned as well, and into this energy work, or wanting to embark on energy work.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. All right, go check out Shannon. And by the way, Shannon, thanks for coming on and giving up your time. I knew this was, it's always fun to speak to another coach that is in high ticket, sales. So got a lot of similarities in the way that we view business. So I appreciate your time and coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
No worries. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next.